Hello, in this video I'll show you how you can use two open source tools, Ollama and the continued VS Code extension, to install your own GitHub Copilot replacement for free on your computer. This is Vincent Codes Finance, a channel about coding for finance research. If that's something that interests you, consider subscribing so that you get notified of my future videos. In order to set up our GitHub Copilot replacement, we'll need two things: Ollama to serve the large language models, and the continued VS Code extension to serve as our Copilot inside VS Code. To install Ollama, all you have to do is go on their website at ollama.com and click download. If you're on Mac and using Homebrew, you can also do brew install Ollama. And then you'll need to install your model manually. And by the way, if you haven't seen it already, I have a video on using Ollama with OpenWebUI to serve as a ChatGPT replacement that runs on your own machine. In order to find which model you should install, you can always search for code, and that will get you all the coding-based models. The most popular one is CodeLlama, and then there's also DeepSeek Coder and Wizard Coder that are also quite popular. To install them, you have to go into the terminal, Ollama pull, and then the name of your model. So I already have CodeLlama installed, so this will be really quick for me. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for the model to fully download. Ollama will serve the large language models on your computer, and then you'll also need Continued, which is the Visual Studio Code extension that will serve as your coding assistant. Continued is not specific to Ollama. It can work with any LLM as they state, so you can also use cloud-based LLMs if you want. But in this video, I'll show you how to install it so that everything runs for free on your computer. So what you'll need to do is head into Visual Studio Code under the extension toolbar, search for Continue. Should be the first one. So this is the one with this icon here. Click install. Once you have it installed, it will show up in your left sidebar here. So Continue to recommend that you put it on the right hand side here so that it is always available here and doesn't overlay anything else. And now we've got it installed. So here I do have a chat here because I've used it before. But if I do here, I'll have a new session. So I'll start from scratch. Here I'll see that I have CodeLlama here set up. Again, it's because I had it set up on my computer. If you want to edit your settings, you can either do the plus here to kind of see all these models, or you could click on the gear here, which will open the configure file. So here, in order to use Ollama, you will have to define your model here. So I'll name this one CodeLlama because this is the model I'm using. So I've got the model here. Provider is Ollama. And then you can also set a few options. So here I've got the completion options, the num thread set to 4 so that it's allowed to use 4 threads to generate my result. If I wanted more models, even if they're all provided by Ollama, I would just add them here. If I look at my computer, I have a few models installed. So for example, here, if I wanted to use DeepSeek Coder, the latest as well, I could just come here and add a second model. So same thing. And then I can just copy the rest. And that would be it. And now here I do have a choice, so I can use both. This one I could just make it a bit shorter here. So once I've got this set up and red, it should be all good. Oh, it's this here that I want to shorten. So now here I've got DeepSeek Coder or CodeLlama. I can use either one, and I can even try both. If one doesn't work for a task, I can ask the other one. How do we use Continued as a coding assistant? Well, here I'm just using 3 examples that are provided by the Continued team. So the first one here is I've got a file that has a function called mysterious function. I'm not quite sure what it does. What I can do is I can highlight that section, that function, do Command M to select the code and put it in my chat here. And then I can say ask a question such as what does this function do? And then it will provide me the answer. If I'm not happy with CodeLlama, I can change the model and ask another one. So that's how you get information about your code and you start a chat session about your code. The second way to use Continued is directly in the editor. So for example, here I've got a large function. Maybe I want to refactor it or do something else. So I would do Command Shift L, and then that would ask me what to do with that code. So maybe I want to, I don't know, kind of refactor this. We'll see what it does. So now it did change something. It's used a while instead of a for, which might be better, maybe not, we'll see. But in this case, I could either accept, reject, or even retry. If I accept, all I have to do is click accept and it will swap in the code. And finally, I can also use it for debugging. So for example, here I've got a function. If I run it, I say, well, it doesn't work. What I can do is can just highlight this and then do Command Shift R. And then it will give me an kind of description of my error and tell me how I could modify the print sum function so that it works in this case. So here, this suggestion would be to only add integers. If I'm happy with that, I can just do apply to current file, and then it will suggest, okay, this is what I will do. I can accept this change, and there we go. Everything is done. Finally, we also have a few options available through the contextual menu. So for example, here I could just either add to context, so the chat bar, or I could do fix, optimize, or for example, write a doc string for this code. And here I can accept this change, and then this one here, yeah, I could accept this, the removal as well. And here I've got my function all documented. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and also consider subscribing to the channel so that you are notified of my future videos.